Thank you for taking time out of your day to discuss the Strat with us. I'm super excited. Ever since I've had Rob on, I've been more and more excited about the Strat. So the fact that you're joining us today to take some questions and give us some examples, mega excited. So let's get into it here. Let's first start with, for any of those who don't know you, give me a little bit of history of Sara. How did you get into trading?
My little brother told me about Bitcoin, and he's like, you got to get in it, you got to get in it. And I was like, I don't even know what that is. And so I ended up just kind of throwing money into this weird thing that I knew nothing about. And in 2017, anybody could make money in crypto, right? Like all it did was go up all year. And at the time, I was working as a manager at a retail store it's a local little business. I'd been there for 12 years, started as a cashier, ended up managing like one of the top stores. And I found myself totally enamored in Bitcoin and trading and these charts that I did not know anything about. So I just kind of dove into YouTube. So I ended up finding a community of technical analysts, and he opened my eyes to other ways to make money. So I started with crypto, and then, like the Canadian MJ market happened and blew up. And I was like, oh, there's this whole other world of stocks. And I didn't know anything about the stock market. All I knew was my 401k money was in it. And I gave it to some people and they, they said they'd make me more. So I really knew nothing about it. I just got like obsessed with technical analysis, and I spent every waking minute learning, studying. I was at work. I would have one headphone in, just listening, just trying to soak up anything that I could. Finally, to the point where it was all I wanted to do. And I began to like question where I was in my life. Like, I worked so hard to get where I was, but I didn't even stop to think, was I happy? And I wasn't. I no longer wanted to manage people. I didn't want to motivate people who didn't want to be motivated. I just wanted to do for myself. And then finally, in September 12th of 2018, I decided to take the leap into full-time trading. I had saved up quite a bit of money, well, enough that I was comfortable, quitting my job. And I always knew that if it didn't work out, I could always go back to this place where I worked. But my biggest fear in life is always living with regret. I don't want to wake up when I'm 60 and be like, I missed everything, I didn't take enough risks. So that's kind of, why I made the jump. It's my passion. I love it. I think about it all the time. It's just amazing to me.
I also got bit by the trading bug. I also worked in retail and didn't want to do that my entire life. So hats off to you for making that change. It takes a lot of confidence to be able to do that. What kind of trader would you classify yourself as?
I am a day trader. I do not swing. I do not hold overnight. I'm not comfortable doing that. Mainly because when I first got into trading, the stock market, I got my biggest loss ever because I really didn't know what I was doing, and I ended up holding overnight. And I didn't even know that stocks could move after the market closed. I didn't know I could trade after the market closed. And I went too big. It was supposed to be a scalp. I wasn't paying attention to the time of day. And then the market closed and I just like freaked out. Yeah. I couldn't sleep. I was sick to my stomach. So that feeling will stop you from making mistakes like that in the future. So the next morning, it was AMD. AMD is my arch nemesis. I will chart it and talk about it, but it's on my do not trade list. I won't trade it. So anyway, I woke up in the morning, it was down, and I sold for a loss because I panicked. Didn't have a plan, just beginner's awful mistake.
Yep. Well, you know what? That happens, and it happens to everyone. The same, a very similar thing happened to me. Actually, my arch nemesis is a stock called ADMP. So it's got the same letters as AMD, except the P is added. And it was just a low float stock. I was in it way too big. I took a massive loss. I had the same thing. I had stomach aches. I really couldn't sleep at night. It really like affected me outside of actually trading, and that was a huge lesson for me. Thankfully, knock on wood, I haven't repeated that mistake. So that lesson, although it was costly at the time, has been very good for my career going forward. So hats off to you for learning from your mistake. Do you have a big win? Do you have your biggest win? Do you recall that at all?
My biggest win also was in crypto, and also was beginner's luck. Like I said, you would go to sleep and you'd wake up to like a $3,000 gain, and it was insane. And that's when I knew, I was like, man, I got to get a handle on this. This can't be normal. And I think that people that get into trading when it's a bull market, they think it's easy. You just, because even, certain personalities on Twitter, stocks only go up. Well, they don't. So people that, get in with that mindset and think that, they end up getting hurt pretty bad. And I knew that, like, I can't make $3,000 while I'm sleeping. Get out of here. What's really going on here, So that's when I started to learn TA.
So your journey from TA, how did you actually then find the strat? How did that materialize?
So yes. So I was with this community for, I guess, about 6 months after I had gone full-time trading, and I was still struggling quite a bit. The one thing I was really good at was not losing a lot of money, which I think as a beginner is a big deal. If you don't have cash, you're out of the game. So, but I was still struggling to like make consistent money. And so I guess I just kept searching, the internet to see what else I could find. And Twitter, so my account says I've been on Twitter since 2012, which I have. That's when I signed up. But you won't see anything from me till this March. So I found like the Twitter world. I was like, what's all this? What's FinTwit? I didn't, I had no idea even. And I came across Rob in the Strat. And Rob's such a sweet guy. I messaged him and told him that, I was a single mom. I quit my job 6 months ago. I'm trying to make it trading. It's all I want to do. I just want to be successful. I don't want to be rich. Can you help me? And he said, yes. And I'm like, okay. And Rob really, and like I said, I already had some technical analysis background, and he's like, throw it all away. And that's a hard thing to do, when you've spent, 2 years learning all this stuff. But he kind of held my hand and helped me out a lot and stuck with me. And I fought him tooth and nail most of the time. I was like, but no. And he's like, but yeah. And so finally I kind of surrendered to what he was saying. I'm like, you're right. I asked you for help, and here I am trying to tell you what's right and what's wrong.
Yeah. So you hit on a couple of really important things there that I want to summarize. First of all, the not trade, being able to preserve your capital. I tell people every single day that the number one rule in trading is protecting your capital. I don't care how many years you've been doing this. I don't care how new or old or experienced, that's the wrong word, how experienced you are. protecting your capital is your number one goal every single day as a trader, because you said it, if you lose your cash, you're out of the game. And the only way to profit in this game is to participate in it. So that's a huge, huge point that you were able to realize early on. And I want our viewers to understand that that's okay. It took me 2 years of losing and treading water before I finally kind of figured things out. So don't be discouraged, keep firing. Really good advice. The other thing that you commented on there was a support structure. And I've actually interacted with Rob too, and he is incredibly nice and he's incredibly generous with his time. And it's great. I mean, I had him on here. It was awesome. And the final point that I wanted to make was that I too, like, I'm in the process of learning the strat right now. And I wish I could just pick it up and learn it in a day, but it's taken me more time than I thought. And I am also like, I'm glad that I learned basic technical analysis, but I also am trying to morph that into like learning about the strat. And you do kind of have to throw some stuff out, which can be an uncomfortable feeling, especially if you spend a lot of time learning that. So really good points. But I think the overarching point there is don't get discouraged. And so that's why I'm so glad you're here today to help with that.
Rob, you know, he hates technical analysis, and I don't have quite the hatred that he does for it, but I do think that there are at least 3 really big things that are missing from technical analysis that the strat has. So one thing that technical analysis doesn't really teach you about is the broadening formation, which, if you know anything about the strat and Rob, he's all about it. Like, price aggregates, it gets bigger, it broadens. Technical analysis, I also don't feel teaches you targets and where you should get out at. I mean, people use Fibonacci and stuff like that, but technical analysis, or the strat, there's no indicators. Everything is based on price action, previous price history. Those are our targets. And then the final thing, and I think one of the most important things, is multiple time frame analysis. Because you can see a technical analysis could see, you know, whatever, a rising wedge on a 1 hour time frame. But if you go to the daily, it's not there. So having the ability to use multiple time frame analysis comes into huge handy, and I'll explain that a little bit more when I'm going through my charts and stuff. Okay, can you see it?
Perfect. Looks like the SPY chart to me.
Okay, so what we have here is the SPY monthly chart. And a broadening formation is just a series of higher highs and lower lows. So even, for example, I see another one right here. So we have this high here and that high there. And then we have this low here and this low here. You see how we kind of went down, we broke higher. So breakout traders get murdered in this because they're buying the breakout, but that is our target. You know, our target is at least this high. So people are basically buying the top. And then technical analysis will also tell you that support is horizontal, but it's really not. So if you look, well, maybe this is a bad example, but still, support isn't horizontal. So if you're a long-term investor in the SPY, most people would have gotten out when that level broke here, only for it to rip back up and make a new high, right?
Yep.
So that's kind of how the broadening formation works. People think that they're, you know, they're getting stopped out on purpose because the algos are after them or whatever, but they're not. It's just how price moves.
And you know what's funny about this is I've actually had this experience myself. I've bought something that I thought for sure I'm doing this right, only to get stopped out and then see it reverse and go back up. So I mean, that's happened. That's happened to me.
Oh, and yeah, it happens. It's happened to all of us. I mean, especially in the beginning, because you think, oh, this is support, it's going to hold. Well, it doesn't. it almost always breaks. So if you have, Rob calls them tight stop guys. So if you have a stop like right at the low of the day or the low of the month, whatever chart you're looking at, you're most likely going to get taken out, because it always usually goes lower before it goes higher. So here, and then this chart, I posted, let's go to the daily. I posted on this day on my Twitter, so what was that, 9/2?
Mm-hmm.
I said, hey guys, you know, SPY hit the top of the megaphone, the monthly megaphone. I'm not saying it's gonna crash, but be prepared, because we might get, you know, a substantial pullback, you know. So it basically exactly obeyed this, you know, this broadening formation, because we just made a higher high. Now QQQ is a whole nother story, because that broke out of its broadening formation and kept going, which that can happen too. You know, broadening formations aren't broadening formations forever. So we may never come back down and test this low, but what we could do over time is break up and out of this megaphone, and then we would begin like a new megaphone series.
Okay, so that actually is a really good point right there. So we got a question here from one of our viewers, Keith, who's asking, are the broadening formations drawn on all time frames, or are they only on the longer time frames? So you had just mentioned that you could actually start creating a new one. How do you determine when to create a new one, and on what time frames do you actually create these?
Okay, I think I have a good example for you. And a lot of it, I think, has to do with training your eyes to see these things.
Mm-hmm.
This trade kind of hurts me, because I called the long right here, and it didn't do what I wanted it to do when I wanted it to do it. So I got stopped out. But for people who can hold a little bit longer than I can and can stomach more red, I won't handle red. I won't have it. So I got stopped out. But the reason I posted this was because we had a high, a low, we got a higher high, we got a lower low.
Mm-hmm.
So here's a good example of the tight stop guys. So if you had your stop right there at 34.85,
Mm-hmm.
the price hit 34.47 before doing what?
Reversing and going right back up.
I was talking to somebody on Twitter yesterday, and I love when people interact with me on Twitter and show me their charts and ask, hey, you know, does this look good? Because I can help you more if I can see what you're doing. If you just ask me a random question without a chart, it's kind of hard for me.
But if you didn't have a position, if you break out of one of these formations, is that then an entry trigger?
Yes, so there is an entry trigger. You would want to wait for a reversal, which technical analysis would call it a bull flag.
Mm-hmm.
Rob would call it a reversal. So once, you know, we broke out of this megaphone, and then price, see how price ticked down on this little red candle?
Yep.
So, but it didn't go anywhere. So the bulls basically got, or the bears basically got nowhere, no follow through, and all the time frames are green. So we want to be going long. If you saw this, you really wouldn't want to be going short, because you're fighting the monthly, the weekly, the daily, the yearly. You're fighting the trend, which is basically all what time frame continuity is. It's basically the trend is your friend. You're just following the trend. And in this case, the trend is green. So the entry to get back in on this megaphone action would be the top of that red 2, because we went, Rob calls this a 2-2 reversal. You would enter at the top of this bar, and you would put your stop below the bottom of that bar.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the problem with blue sky breakouts is you really don't have a target, because there's no previous price history. So you just have to be protective. So say you entered here and now we're all the way up here. You would want to move your stop because your stop was down here, right? So you would now want to move your stop on this to this low because the price came down, and here is an outside bar. And someone asked if you can draw them on any time frame. Yes, you can, because an outside bar, so a 3, it is a broadening formation on a smaller time frame. And I'll show you what I mean. So let's just connect this line to the top of the 3 and this one to the bottom of the 3. And then let's go look at the hourly. Ta-da! So this is the hourly chart, but I drew those lines on the daily, right?
Yeah, that's awesome.
Isn't that sick?
That is. And okay, so I actually have a follow-up question real quick. Can you click back to the daily chart when you're done adjusting those drawings? Now, I noticed here, and then I think I need to go down a little bit, perhaps even zoom out a little bit. There you go. Now, I noticed here, so I'm looking at this, and I'm wondering here, right in here, okay, I see what looks like to me, and obviously I'm a rookie, I see a 2-1-2 reversal. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so if I went long on that reversal, am I actually exiting at the top of the broadening formation, or would this be possible to follow this continuation?
It depends on what you want to do. I mean, so me, I always get out at my target.
Okay.
Because I find I'm more consistent that way. That was the long that I called on this mini megaphone right here. So yes, so my internet, it says my internet connection is unstable.
Yeah, I mean, that'll happen.
Okay.
You haven't dropped out at all on my end.
Okay, so yeah, so let's say you entered here, okay, and your target was at least here. So if you entered here, we got to at least the 41.20 area. So, I mean, if you're already in profit and profitable, I would probably, my magnet's on. I would never let this just be a break-even trade, so I might raise my stop just a little bit to at least above break even, so I make a little something on it.
Right.
And yeah, you could just wait and see what happened. And in this case, it would have worked. You might have got a little nervous on this day, but as soon as we dropped below that day's low and we got nowhere, that would have been a good sign. Like, hey, this level's probably going to hold. So from there, then yes, you could just walk your stop up.
Yeah, and as you were talking, I was actually thinking with my own hypothetical example here, depending on your position size, you could also sell partial at the top of the broadening formation and then see if there's any continuation. I like your point about using a stop, because even if I sell partial for profit and then I put in a stop, even if the price comes back against me, I'm still able to get out with something. I'm actually not going red on that trade.
Or you can add to your position. So say you get in a small starter position here. I don't know what small is to some people. To me, it'd be like 100 shares.
Yep.
So say you get in 100 shares here and you're profitable, the trade's going your way, so you already have nothing to lose. So say you add another 100 shares here. So, and that's something else that Rob teaches that technical analysis doesn't. Technical analysts are scaling out into profit. We're adding into profit.
And is that because you've got effectively full time frame continuity at this point?
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay.
And you're already profitable from down here. So you're already playing with house money. So then you could add there. This got a little messy and tricky up here, but I guess you could have added when this went down, because like I said, this was an outside bar. So it went 2 down, but started coming back through. So once it turned back green, you could either add or then put your stop down here, because we would anticipate that this would become an outside bar. Since the bears didn't work, it didn't hold.
Right.
So you could add or you could raise your stop, whatever you wanted to do.
Okay. Awesome. So, all right. So just to continue that a little bit, why don't we go ahead and define what inside bars and outside bars are and those numbers, and then tell us how you actually got these numbers added to your chart. Because this definitely makes it easier without question. Just looking at it and having the computer do that for you definitely makes this easier.
Okay. So a 1 is an inside bar. An inside bar, let me move.
And when you say inside bar, it's because it's inside the previous candle, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
This bar fits entirely within, and that's wicks and everything.
Yep.
So this one fits inside that one. A two candle just means it broke one side of the previous bar's range. And then a 3 means it broke both sides of the previous bar's range. And outside bars are my favorite. My favorite setups are a 3-1-2 or a 2-1-2. Trying to see if I can find a good one.
There it was.
Here's a nice one. Here's a 2-1-2, except it doesn't have a whole lot of magnitude on it. So,
And well, it actually looks like you get another 2-1-2 a few candles later here. Yep, right in there.
That's a good one.
And then that just ripped.
Yeah. Oh, I want to show you guys.
Yes.
I want to show you guys my other absolute favorite thing. This is called, Rob calls it the pivot machine gun. Oh, this is great.
And
why it works is great.
Real quick, Sarah, do you trade stocks, options, or both?
Both.
Cool.
Oops. Okay. This is Penn from way back in, the beginning of September. Okay.
Which does feel way back. Penn's been on a monster run.
It really wasn't that long ago. Sorry about that. Okay. So, this is so good. I already drew it out, but maybe I should undraw it because it might be easier for people to follow along with what I'm saying.
Okay, great.
Okay. So, see how all these daily candlesticks, how do I say it? Each high is lower than the one before.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that is called a pivot machine gun. So anybody who entered short, say they entered short on this day, they're going to put their stop at the high of this day. If they entered short on this day, they're going to put their stop here, 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 and here. So when we got this big red 2 down, and then we kind of, I guess, in pre-market, it gapped up a bit. So then when we got a 2 up, when this day broke this day's high, it just powered through and went and just took out all these stops.
And from a nominal value, it looks like you went from 54.28 to 58. Or actually, it looks like the top of that wick is 59.
It is.
Yeah. That's
our
5
target,
points.
so your entry is 54.28, and that would be your final target, which was 57.93.
Okay.
So I love these setups because it's just so obvious that so bulls are buying and shorts are covering. So to cover, obviously you have to buy to close. So that's adding to the buying and the momentum.
Yeah.
Because you've got buyers and you've got shorts covering at the tops of each of these candles. If you don't mind, I want to talk about Netflix and the call that I made yesterday and why I made it. I wrote down levels and I said that if we break these levels, these are going to make it an outside bar on the monthly. And the thing that you have to understand about threes is it was once a 2, but it didn't work. So this is the monthly of Netflix. So we had a 2, 1, we tried to go 2 up, but we couldn't take out, the bulls could not take out that high. So once they started coming back through this 1 and time frame continuity changed from green to red, that means that the sellers are now in control. So what I like to do is I like to mark my previous month's high and low, just so I have frame of reference. Okay, so I said that the level on Netflix for it to be an outside month would have to reach 466.55 and below. So 466.54. We'd have to tick down by at least 1 penny for it to be an outside month. So me knowing that we're probably gonna be an outside month, so what does that mean to me? So then I go to the weekly. So here's my month lines. That was last month's high and low. So then what I like to do is I'll take my lines and I'll box out last week's high and low. So we opened right here at 481-ish.
Yep.
But I knew if we were gonna be an outside month, we would have to take out last week's low, because you have to. How else are you gonna get down here? So then I go to the daily. So now here's the daily. Oh, wow. Is this now? Netflix is almost an outside day already. Cool.
Great example.
So then I go, yeah. Like 27 cents away. It's gonna be an outside day, everybody. Make your 27 cents.
You heard it here
okay,
live.
So the daily. So this day was almost an outside day, but we ran out of time. Then it gapped down, which I don't like gaps. I would much rather the price break the previous day's low than gap. And I told everybody, I said, we gap down, don't be in a rush to get into short positions. People are probably gonna buy the dip first thing, wait for a reversal back into time frame continuity. And it was pretty awesome because that's exactly what happened. So here was the opening of the day. This is the hourly time frame. I hope you guys can see it okay. Oh, and I got something else to show you after this I just saw. Okay, so here's the opening. The bulls tried to take it up, couldn't do it. We ended red. What do we have here? We have an inside bar on the hourly. Now, I'm not a service. I don't call out alerts, but if I see a really good setup, I will say, hey, 212 on the hourly. The target is still the outside month. I think we just went outside day on Netflix. Anyway, so I alerted and said to everybody, hey, this would be the level. This would be where it happens. If we break 471, our target is 466 because that's the outside month. That was the level.
Yep.
And it did it beautifully. And then somebody asked, well, isn't that your short entry on the monthly to go short? And I said, yes, if you're like a long-term holder and you want to be short for the next all of October or something, go ahead. But I don't. I just am a day trader. That was my target. If you're a monthly participant and you want to go short there, that's totally fine. It's not my style, but that's my target because I anticipated the outside month since we failed to take it higher. I hope I'm saying that right.
Yeah, you are.
So then We can even zoom into the 5-minute. Oh, I no longer pay for data on TradingView, so if my chart looks a little funny or weird, that's why. Okay, so here was the low of the hourly inside candle. If you want to be ahead of the game, you could have entered on this one. We went 2 up but failed. So we knew that would be a 3. So you could have entered right here at 473, anticipating the hourly inside bar to break, and you would have put your stop right above that 3 candle. So you have like a $1.30 stop on a $470 something name. That's not bad, right?
Yeah, I was going to say that's a really tight stop. That's nice that it works like that.
Yes. And there you go. So that was the hourly entry, but if you're a sniper, you get in before it. And so this candle is ugly. I don't know what happened there, but it ticked up, but still your stop was up here, so you wouldn't have been taken out. And then it only took, you know, what?
I was going to say that was that
1,
yesterday?
2, 3. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. No, I'm
1,
just trying to
2,
think what
3,
that could have
4,
been.
5, 6, 7, 8 5-minute candles from that entry. But since the hourly entry, it only took 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this trade on the hourly time frame actually played out in 30 minutes, which is wonderful. So you're in the market less time than you even need to be.
And so real quick, one of the things that's really impressive about the example that you just gave is you started on a monthly chart, then you went down to a weekly chart, then a daily chart, then a 1-hour chart, and then a 5-minute chart. That type of like time frame adjustment, that's something that I'm not used to. Did you have trouble learning that when you were going through your education process with the Strat?
Absolutely.
Okay. So that's normal then.
And
so I'm normal.
And some people here, I want to show you guys something. Let's see if Netflix went outside. Ta-da! Okay, it did. You see how it's a 3 now?
Yep.
Okay, so let's go to the hourly. What could we have drawn here? A high to a higher high, a low. That was the lower low. You see? Boom,
Yep.
boom, boom.
Yep. And so those happen everywhere. And so just to go back to the question we got earlier, you can draw these broadening formations on any time frame. As you can see, they're happening all over the place.
And so look what happened. So the low was 463.59. Look at this big wick already on the hourly after it stopped everybody out and went back up. Now, I'm not saying this is going to hit the other side. You would have to wait on a reversal. And what does a reversal look like? You would need the next hourly candle to break this one to even attempt to go back up.
Sure.
But I wouldn't be playing long Netflix anyway. Everything, all time frames are red. So you would be looking to short. Like, let's even go on the 30-minute. So people see breakout buyers get wrecked. If they bought above yesterday's high, that was right here. That was 478. And yes, I know that a 2-2 is a reversal, but you have to remember time frame continuity. Just because we go 2 up, that doesn't necessarily mean you want to be long. Everything is red. Like this 2. So we got a 2 and then a 2 up, but the trend is down. The overall trend is down. So I would be looking for ways to short, which would have been right here, but we gapped. I would have entered there, wanting my 266 level, my outside month level. So that would have been great. It would have been 483 to 466.
Yeah, that's nearly 20 points.
Yeah. but gaps, that's the other thing about crypto and stocks. There's no gaps in crypto. You know, we're open for business 24/7. Stocks, I thought it was so weird. I was like, the market closes. What is this? There's earnings. What is that? So I came from nothing. I, you know, learned everything. You guys can learn anything too. Everything we need is on the internet. I love it.
Including where do you get these studies, right? So we did get another question here. How can we use this numbered candle bar on Thinkorswim? I actually don't remember where I got that script from. I wish I did. I would help you out, Maruti, but I don't know offhand. Sarah, is there a resource? Do you know of any resource, or do you know of anyone that somebody can contact if they want to get some of these Strat scripts?
Well, some of the Stratters are willing to share their scripts. The problem with me is I got a script from a woman, and she, apparently I was sharing it and didn't know that she didn't want it to be shared. So I was going against her wishes, which I totally did not mean to do or even know I was doing. So she asked me not to share her script. So I can't share mine publicly.
I'm seeing some of the other members here are saying the Facebook group would be a great way to grab those.
Yes, and so that's the other thing is the Strat, you know, we're on Twitter and we're also on Facebook. And Facebook, and I have a pinned tweet on my Twitter account, and it's got links to Rob's YouTube, which is free, the Facebook group, which is free, the article that he wrote with Steve Burns, which is free. Like everything's free. You just, you know, got to go there.
Yep, absolutely. And I'll see if I can track down exactly where I got that script, because I use Thinkorswim and I'm happy to help out any way that I can. Obviously in Benzinga Pro, we have a Strat chat room that we're trying to dedicate to these types of setups, and then education and sharing as well. So, so Maruti, I hope that answers your question. I'm sorry, I don't have a specific spot for you to go right now. I did get a question here. What is the significance of the outside day? And I think that you covered that, because effectively what's happening there is that that's a failed 2, right? You're becoming a 3.
Yeah. And this is the Netflix chart also that I wanted to talk about this also, because I called along on this day, 8:25. And so also the significance of a 3, if you get a 3 and then a 1, that's like the best thing ever, because you have your entry and your target. So I said, go long here at 492.50. Your target is the top of the 3, 501. But we had a broadening formation inside. We had a bigger broadening formation. Do you see this?
Yep.
So that's why Netflix exploded that day. And I said, okay, well, we broke that. The next target is the next high, which is also a 3. And it did it. And then some.
And so, Stefan, I'm sorry to cut in here, Sarah. Stefan, really quickly, you're asking, how do you incorporate extended trading hour data, or do you solely use real-time trading, or excuse me, regular trading hours? And so, Sarah, do you have an answer for that? Do you use the extended trading hours data at all, or is it just the regular trading hours?
That's a good question. And so if you have extended hours on or off, it's like looking at 2 completely different charts. I'll show you.
And is that because of the volume?
No, it's because of where the candles are rolling over. So with extended hours off, they're rolling over on the 30-minute. So every, like at 9:30, 10:30, 11:30, 12:30 is when they start and stop. But if you have extended hours on, they change on the 0 hour. So 9 o'clock, well, my time, my market opens at 8:30. So 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. So if I click extended, look what happened. So we had a green 2 and then a red 222 with extended hours on is completely different. So you have a
Gotcha.
3, a 2, a 2. So I look at both because they give you different signals, but I really only trade off with the extended hours off.
Okay.
I don't use pre-market data. I don't care about pre-market data, really. I
Gotcha.
care about real price history, real volume. So I guess.
I was going to say that price history to me also makes more sense because you have that volume. The price data that you're getting is more well defined because there's more participants. There's more volume actually there. That's a great question though, Stefan. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it is. And a lot of people don't know that your chart changes drastically if you're on the hourly with extended hours on or off. And just to add, the only indicator I use is volume. I do not use EMAs, SMAs, Bollinger Bands.
So you don't use any lagging indicators is what you're saying.
No. I'm a leader, not a lagger.
Hey, all right. So I got another question here. Do you wait for the bar to close before reading the bar type?
No. Because they can always change. A 1 can become a 2 can become a 3. So yeah, if we did that wouldn't work because then I might answer, yeah, no. Well, I don't know. Can they elaborate? What is that? Say it again? Do I wait for the bar close?
Yeah. So do you wait for the actual bar to close before reading the number? So are you waiting for like bar closes before you're making a decision? Because I noticed that your numbers will change, right? So if it starts off as a 2 and then goes outside and becomes a 3, that number will change. So I think the viewer is asking, do you actually wait for that or do you read that in the middle? Do you read the bar?
I read it in the middle. Gotcha. So like, let's look at these 2 candles right here. So this ticked down, it was a 2, but since we started coming back up, I would be in long right here with that as my minimum target because I would expect this to turn into a 3 because the 2 didn't go anywhere. And I kind of have like a 60% rule. And what I mean by that is if this candle starts to move like at least 60% through the previous candle, I am then going to assume it's going to be an outside bar. And look, we had 2 back-to-back outside bars. You had this one and this one. So when we went 3 and then we went 2 up and started coming back through, whenever we got to about here or halfway, I would assume we're going to take out the lows and become a 3.
Okay.
So you could go short based on your like thesis that that's going to become a 3.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
It does. So just a real quick administrative note here. We have 3 minutes left. I told you that this hour would fly by. I told you that this hour would fly by. So if you didn't believe that this hour would fly by, you see that it has. I definitely have more questions here than we can answer.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Let's take some questions and I'll stop talking if you have.
The point is for you to talk. You're going to have to answer them. Let me go ahead and run through these here. So real quick. So I understand Netflix went outside for the month, but what are we doing with that information trading wise? So this isn't just kind of another follow-up. It sounds like that not quite understanding the significance of the outside month.
Just because I expected it to happen. We went up, we couldn't take out the target. We couldn't take out the previous high. So I expected we would come and take this low out. So technically, if you're like a swing trader, once this month turned red, you could have shorted up here at 531 with a target of 466. So it's just, for me, it's what gives me good targets, good probable targets.
So it helps you in formulating your trading plan, because to me, what this looks like is this could potentially be the reversal of a trend, right? Like look at all those twos that we had stepping
Yes.
up, and now all of a sudden we've got this outside bar that's this looks like to me a 2-1-3 reversal.
Yes, and it can be the beginning of a trend reversal, just like on the SPY monthly. I was like, look, every time we hit a new all-time high and we start coming red, what happens after that? We get dumps, dumps,
Yep.
dumps.
Yep.
Because time frame continuity changed. We're no longer in bulls buy everything mode.
Which is a fun mode. So real quick here, with the hour drawing to a close, what's the best place to get more information on the strat? And I think you already kind of mentioned those. Rob's YouTube, the Facebook group. There are several articles that Rob wrote with Steve Burns that have a bunch of information on them.
You
what
can
else
search hashtag the strat on Twitter. You can follow me. Do you have my Twitter info anywhere?
Yes, I do. So let me go ahead and, in fact, I think I still have it copied to my clipboard. Don't judge me. Nope, it's the trading view thing there. So let me get your Twitter here real quick. I want to make sure that I spell it correctly, so I'm just going to copy and paste it.
I wrote it right here on the screen.
Okay, awesome. And then I'm also going to put that into the chat room so that others can copy and paste on Twitter.
Cool.
All right, let me take one more here. We are at 12 o'clock. I do want to take one more question here real quick.
Okay.
Let me run through these. Do you pick each symbol that you want to trade daily, or are you analyzing the symbol a day or two prior to deciding whether to take the trade and building a watch list? So I don't necessarily want to change this person's question, but it sounds to me like you're kind of waiting to see what happens before you're sniping these trades. Is that a fair assessment?
Well, so I have a watch list. I have like a 60 ticker watch list, and I just scroll through these like this every night, and I'm like, ooh, what looks good? This looks good for a short on Monday. If we can break that one's low, that would be the target. And I've just gotten really fast at this. Baba, I don't like to trade it. I should probably take it off. I just scroll. This is an inside week. If you're trying to trade crowd right now, you're nuts. You see that? Inside, inside.
Yep.
Choppy, shoppy. Brr. So also never trade inside weeks or days. I don't. They're not going anywhere, you know?
Yeah, you're just gonna get chopped up. You're just exposing yourself for that. All right, so we are now a minute over. So this is awesome, Sarah, and there were definitely more questions than we could possibly answer. So I would like to say, hopefully we can have you back sometime. Hopefully we can do this again.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. This was super fun and very, very informative. I really appreciate you taking the time. One of the other things that I'll say is definitely check out her Twitter. Sarah has a ton of educational information on her Twitter where she goes over a lot of this. And I would like to reiterate something from Sarah's pinned tweet. If you have a question, please tweet her. Don't direct message her so that all of us can learn, because it's so great when we have questions. We can always learn from, chances are that if someone has a question, someone else has the same question. So ask that publicly. Sarah, thank you so much for all of the time that you've given us and that you give every day on Twitter. I really appreciate it. I very much look forward to having you back, as I'm sure the viewers do. And until next time, everybody, remember, happy trading.